The numbers you just saw is from a real person with a solid income who's been making this type of money for well over a decade. Now, when you strip away the house they live in, this is what's left over for them. Now, this happened not because they're bad with money. No, it happens because nobody ever showed them the one thing that's going to take you 8 minutes to understand. So let's say you're making good money. You got a solid job. Maybe that job has been paying you a good amount of money for several years at this point. Or maybe you started a business from scratch and now that business is starting to flourish and you're making some money from it. Or maybe you have a steady income that's coming in every single month. And every single month that income is increasing and on paper, everything looks good. But if you're honest with yourself for just 1 second, not with how much money you're actually making, but what you actually own. When you look at the two, those numbers don't match up. So maybe you're not broke and you're not struggling. You're just not building wealth. And I want to be very clear about something here before we go any further. This is not going to be one of those 5-step checklist videos where I walk you through how to buy rental property step by step. No, you've probably seen a dozen of those on my YouTube channel already. Instead, what I want to do is focus on why this actually happens. Why do smart, capable, hardworking people who make good money over a long period of time still not have anything to show for it in terms of real assets? And then I'm going to show you the one thing that changes it. So stick with me, because over the next few minutes, you're going to see yourself somewhere in this video. You're going to recognize the problem, and then we're going to fix it. Let's get into it. So here's something nobody ever explains to you, and it's the reason good earners stay stuck. Income and wealth are not the same thing. Now, they feel like they should be. I mean, if you make more, you should have more, right? That's not how it actually works. And once you understand the reason why, it starts to make more sense. Income is what shows up. It's what quietly hits your bank account every other week or once every month. Wealth is what's left over after everything else takes its cut. And I'm talking about everything. Your lifestyle, your taxes, your time, inflation quietly eating away at whatever you're not using. So income resets. And that's the part that people miss. Every single month, your income starts from zero unless you're actively doing something with it. It don't matter if you made $80,000 last year or $250,000 last year. If none of that money ever got converted into something that keeps producing after the paycheck stop hitting your bank account, you're in the same position as somebody who made half of what you made. The only difference is you've been resetting to a bigger number every single month. Now, I want to give you a real example because this is not theoretical for me. I've coached people making $65,000 a year who are genuinely building real wealth. We're talking about real equity, real cash flow, real assets that are worth more today than they were 2 years ago. And I've also coached people making $150,000 a year who own a house they live in. They got a 401k they really don't understand and nothing else. So this is the same income bracket that most people would call doing great, with a completely different financial trajectory. The difference was never the paycheck. It was whether any of that income ever got converted into something that can compound on its own. Look at it side by side. The entire difference in one image. One resets and one doesn't. And this is exactly why real estate matters here. It's the one and only asset that an average, ordinary person can control the compounding on. You're not sitting there hoping for the market to do something in your favor like you are with a stock portfolio. Instead, you're literally picking the property, you're picking your terms, and you're the one making the decisions whether the property is going to grow or not. But here's the problem. Almost nobody who's making good money is actually doing that conversion. So here's the real question I want you sitting with for the rest of the video. Not how much do I make, but how much of what I make actually stops resetting to zero every month. Now, if income was actually the problem, then this would be simple. Make more money, invest more money. Done. But I've been doing this for over 24 years with over 1,000 transactions, and I can tell you with full confidence, it's almost never the number on the paycheck. It's actually 3 specific things. And I'm willing to bet real money that one of these 3 things is holding you back right now, whether you said it out loud or not. The first one is analysis paralysis. There's an overwhelming amount of information online right now. Wholesale this, buy a rental property, flip a house, get into syndications, do creative finance. How about short-term rentals, buy land, maybe do commercial investing. And every single one of them have somebody online who's backing up, stating that this is the absolute best way to do things. And when you're staring down that many right answers, your brain does the only rational thing it knows how to do with too many options. It does nothing. And it's not that you're indecisive as a person. No, it's that nobody ever sat down with you and narrowed this thing down to the one decision that matters to you the most right now in your current situation. So in other words, everything stays theoretical because everything is optional. The second one is losing money on your first deal. Now, this one is real, and I'm not going to sit here and act like it's not. You feel like your first deal has to be perfect, and you feel that way because you don't have 4 or 5 other deals of experience backing you up in case something goes sideways. So instead of taking an imperfect first move, which is literally what every successful real estate investor you know of did to get to where they are right now, you're looking for some type of guarantee. And I got to tell you this, that guarantee doesn't exist. Not in real estate, not in the stock market, not anywhere. But here's the thing though, the fear is not irrational. It's just aimed at the wrong target. You're not actually trying to avoid risk altogether. Nobody who builds real wealth avoids risk altogether. What you're trying to do is avoid unmanaged risk. For example, the kind of risk where you didn't run the numbers on a deal, or you didn't check your exit strategies before making a decision to buy, or you didn't build a margin for error in case something goes wrong on the deal. Those are the type of risks that you're looking to avoid. And those are 2 completely different problems that have different solutions. And the third one, and this is the big one, and it's almost invisible because it don't feel like avoidance. It actually feels responsible. I'll start when I have more saved up, or I'll start when the market settles down, or I'll start when I understand things a little better. I've sat down with people making $150,000 a year who at some point used some version of that for over a decade, a literal decade. And here's what I've learned watching that happen over and over again. There's no number in a savings account. There's no market condition. There's no amount of extra research that produces the feeling of simply being ready. It just doesn't exist. Readiness is not a financial state you arrive at. It's a decision you make. And until you understand that distinction, you can make great money and still be in the same place you are right now in 5 years from today. So let's redefine what ready actually means, because the version of ready that most people are carrying around in their head is completely broken and it's quietly costing them years. Ready is not a savings number. It's not once I have $50,000 in the bank. It's not once I have 6 months of expenses saved up, or a full down payment, or a cushion on top of the cushion. If you're earning a solid income right now and you've got some savings and your credit is in decent shape, I'll tell you with real confidence, you are very likely already more than ready than you think you are. What you're actually missing is not the money. It's that you never converted, I can probably do this, into here's my specific first move. Real readiness, and I'm talking about the kind that actually leads to action, all boils down to 3 things. What am I trying to accomplish? What market do I already understand? And is my first deal forgiving? You already know roughly what you're trying to accomplish. Is this about monthly cash flow? Is it about building long-term equity? Is it about tax benefits maybe? Or is it just about having every dollar you earn not evaporate at the end of every single month? You already know what market to start in. And for most people watching this, it's probably going to be the market you live in. The one you already understand better than any other market you can research online. And third, and this is the one people skip, you already understand that your first deal doesn't need to be the best deal that you ever get. All it has to be is a forgiving deal, something simple and something safe, and also something with multiple ways that you can get out of in case a number or 2 goes wrong somewhere. That's it. The actual bar you need to clear. It's not a number sitting in your savings account. It's a specific, narrow, low drama first deal that you're willing to make your first move on. Everything else is just a more comfortable sounding excuse. So if you're sitting there right now with good income and no real estate wealth to show for it, here's the one move I would actually make. Not the entire 6-month roadmap, not a course. I call it the one deal rule, and it's actually pretty simple. You are not allowed to research a second property until you fully run the numbers on a real first one, start to finish. That's it. That's literally the whole rule. And it works because it makes analysis paralysis structurally impossible. You physically cannot compare 5 hypothetical options if you fully committed to finishing the real first one. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick one property type in one market at one price range and write it down. Not 5 options you're keeping open in case one falls through. I only want you to focus on one. And for almost everybody in your position, that looks like something simple. A move-in ready property or a light rehab in the market you already live in. And you want this property to be at a price range where the numbers are boring and predictable instead of exciting and complicated. Boring is good here. Boring basically means fewer surprises. Then, and it's the part that matters most, I want you to run the real numbers on an actual listing, not hypothetical. I want you to focus on a real property that you can actually pull up online right now. For example, let's go ahead and pull up a real live property. So if we're running the numbers and we see that a property is worth, let's say $78,000 in this case, using just hard numbers on Zillow. Again, these are not factual numbers. You know, we would have to run comparable sales on similar properties. These are comparable homes down here that actually sold. This one sold for $64,000. So this house, you know, if we're basing it off of, you know, this is a like in kind property not too far away, about 700 square feet. This property needed more work. This one sold for $64,000, right? So if we're looking at this property, which is a comparable house, and if we're looking at this property, which is not too far from that property, we got a real comparable sale. The property is a little larger than this one. This one is probably in better shape than that one, but they're right around the same price point, between $65,000 and $75,000. So that leads me to believe that yes, this property is worth about $75,000 after looking at that real comparable sale down here. And there's only one comparable sale. And again, this one is a little larger than the subject property. But, you know, right off the bat, the asking price is too high. They're asking $65,000 for it. Again, I'd like to see that number at somewhere right around $50,000. And again, how did I come up with that number? I took, let's say, $75,000, just rounding it down to a nice round number. Instead of 78, I'm going to use 75, and I'm going to multiply that number by 0.70. And that's going to leave me right around $52,000. So right around $50,000. Let's say this house again needs $50,000. Let's say it needs $25,000 in work, which I'm not sure if that's true or not. That means I would have to buy it for between $25,000 and $27,000. But again, you know, looking at this property right off the bat, I'm not interested in it based on real numbers. Comparable sales between the asking price and the value of the property doesn't make sense. You know, there's really no spread there. But also, if we're looking at the rent, so the estimated rents in the area are between $850 and $900. This is giving us an estimate of $888. We would obviously have to verify that. But if we're verifying that and we're using the 1% rule, which is an old school rule, let's say that this property is worth $75,000, then 1% of that would be $750 a month, right? Now, again, these days, banks are using that 1.25% because of the way the market is. And, you know, if you're looking for, let's say, a refi cash out, or you're looking for a debt service coverage ratio loan, a DSCR loan, they want that 1.25%. Some lenders want more. Some people want 1.15. But let's use 1.25 as a nice round number. At $75,000, the rent would need to be 0.0125, which is, you know, 1.25%. When you do the math, it needs to be at least $937.50 per month in order for it to make sense, right? So $937.50 per month, based on what I'm seeing, we can only get $850 to $900 a month. This deal doesn't make sense. So comparable sales wise, there's no equity in the property, and just to get a long-term loan on it is going to be a struggle with the amount of rent that can actually produce on this property. So I'm going to go ahead and call this a no deal. Now, I want to be clear about something. You're not necessarily doing this to buy that specific property. You're doing this to prove something to yourself, that you can actually sit down with a real property and arrive at a trustworthy answer about whether it's a good decision to buy that property or not. That single exercise, that one property, that one set of honest numbers run all the way through does more to break analysis paralysis, fear, and the trap of feeling ready than an entire year of passive research ever will. Why does it do this? Because it takes real estate out of the category of someday abstract idea and puts it into the category of a decision I actually practiced making. And here's what actually happens once you make that first move for real. Your income stops refreshing to zero every single month and starts producing something that doesn't reset. All while equity is quietly building in the background while you're at work, at dinner, or even sleep. And at the same time, rent is covering the expenses on the property. And eventually, and it's the part that builds real wealth, that one deal will create enough equity in it for a down payment on your next one. And that entire mechanism right there is the difference between income and wealth. Wealth, at the end of the day, is just income that stopped resetting. And I want to be clear about something because I know this is sitting in the back of your mind. None of this requires you to quit your job or blow up the stable life you built to get there. Some of the most stable wealth I've seen people build in real estate came from people who use their job as the engine that funds the entire machine, not as the obstacle standing in front of it. That steady paycheck is exactly what gives you the stability to make one deliberate, well-run decision at a time, instead of needing some type of lottery ticket to make any of this work. You already have more than what you think you do. What's been missing this whole time was never the money. It was the one deal rule. One property run all the way through before you ever look at anything else. What I just walked you through is the what. Why this gap between income and wealth exists in the first place, and the shift in thinking that actually closes it. But I want to be honest with you about something. The exact first move, which market, which price range, which financing option actually makes sense, that looks different depending on the numbers, your specific situation, and your specific timeline. That's the how do I actually do this part. And that part, I don't think you should have to figure out through trial and error, because that's exactly the 3 to 5 years of guessing trap we spent this whole video talking about. And that's what I help people with in my Deal Pro coaching program, building your specific first move and helping you go from where you are to where you want to go in your real estate investing journey. And if you're serious about actually converting your income into real wealth, there's a link in the description box that you can check to apply to work with me personally. Be sure to check the link in the description box below, and on that call, we'll evaluate your situation to see if it's a good fit for us to work together. And if you're not ready for that first step yet, that's perfectly fine. Here's another video right here that you can watch that will continue to help you break that fear to get started as a real estate investor. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.